Monarch wraps up. That's right, the finale. And before I get to it, let me just give a hat tip here to Justin Phillips. I'll put a hat tip in the description. They did point out in the comments some of the details that I didn't. I kind of glossed over some details in episode 9. Like it just didn't click for me with all the time travel stuff about like they did explain like how long they'd been there versus how they aged. I kind of glossed over that and insinuated that none of that had been explained. He pointed out, yes, it was. This episode actually does sort of like double down and explain that in some ways. So it is pretty clear they at least had some notes and some structure on how things were going to work in this sort of like, the monster realm, if you will. So, but if you remember, it ended, and I, I couldn't believe it. I actually was like, you gotta, the problem is folks, with the grandmother still being alive, like again, when the portal opens up into the monster thing and it sucks her in the 1950s, then it takes away the stakes. It takes everything away. She's been there this whole time. So I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh God, I can't stand it. Anyway, this episode is just riddled with like that type of stuff and reconciling all that kind of stuff. First off, it's this back and forth about who are you and what are you doing and all that kind of stuff. That's how it all starts before we get to the credits. And then we end up with more of the talky talk with the dad. So if you remember this dad, he's got two families, one in San Francisco, one in Tokyo. It's sort of weird that he's carried on in some sort of way, but not really. So that's what all this is about before everyone's figuring everybody else out. Okay, who's who and where is everybody before you get into Kurt Russell's character. Now, Kurt Russell's character is the one we actually like. I mean, I don't know about anybody else. I mean, everyone has been serviceable in their performances, but I will say there's a lot of meat and time being consumed where there's nothing of any significance actually ever happening. So they're in the monster thing. They find her. They reconcile. There's all this exchange that's going down about like how long they've been there and who's who and oh, you're really the granddaughter and all that before we cut back to Monarch, Lady Boss. This is possibly the dumbest scene in the entire show to date because everything in this scene contradicts everything that we've been experiencing. So the guy on the left, I don't even know their names. He's making a case that we need to find these people. They went through this hole that Shaw set off this explosion. We need to figure something out. We're getting some sort of beacon, some sort of reading is out there. We should look into that. She, on the other hand, is monitoring these maps and pointing out this map in the background there, this map with all these little beeps on it. And she's pointing out, oh, we have something to do. Can't you see whether, okay, Monarch has never done anything. Monarch has never been efficient at doing anything. Monarch has, I don't even think that Monarch can even take credit for saving any lives in doing anything. What has Monarch done? And by the way, can't they do two things at once? Why is that so hard with these stories? Like I don't understand. Wouldn't it be first off, most scripts have to come up with contrived reasons to split up the cast and go on multiple adventures and then bring them back together. In this case, it actually would make sense to be doing two different things. This would actually put your arms around all the plots and all the sub things together. Nope. It turns into this bone of contention and wasting our time before we cut back to Kurt Russell, who knows what's actually there. So, what he does know is he was there just a few days ago because time doesn't work the same, right? And they're there with some sort of plan or scheme to figure out how to get back. And then cut to the son, and the dad comes home, and it's a whole lot of talking about needing their help. And that's the two things. You have this storyline with he's gone rogue, he's ditched Monarch, and they're going to help try to find everybody. And meanwhile, they're all going to walk around and they're going to talk about how to get home and what life is like, social commentary about, oh, the world's really not any different. A couple of wars, we went to the moon, blah, 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 blah. Literally talking, 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 talking. Okay. Which by the way, this scene with them looking at rain, that was actually probably one of the better elements is the fact that it's sort of like it is trying to tie things up at least a little bit. But it's also not going to make sense to you because when this guy comes to the door, he wants to act like he doesn't want any part of it, even though he was just watching the scene on the TV. I made my head hurt. I was like, what on earth is wrong with these people? Like, I don't. Why didn't you just have him be like, "You're the last person I wanted to see. Just come in." And of course, he can see that Rand is on the screen. He's like, I just can't get it out of my head. I know there's things here I should be doing. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Why not go in it with that attitude instead of this whole no, we got to talk about how to get him to go, even though we know he's going to go. Now, we can't have them actually get to where they need to go because we need to stop them and talk some more before they get to the big moment where they're going to get inside the capsule, make it all work. They're going to talk and they're going to talk and talk some more. And I kid you not, they're going to get inside and they're going to talk before things actually get started. Now, the device, if you remember some of the previous episodes, it will attract one of the titans, and they don't know which one they're going to attract. In this case, they attracted one that flies and is dangerous, and it actually attacks them because it comes fast. It didn't go through the portal like they expected. It was actually already there. So then what ends up happening is because it hits them, the thing is unplugged, and Kurt Russell's character has to go back outside to try to plug it in. And he quite literally, wait, before I get to that, he's quite literally doing Doc Brown, where he's got like one cable in one hand, the plug on the other, and he can't get them to reach. So it's literally that cliche. By the way, we are now 35 minutes in. See how little action is happening in these shows? See how we could take 10 episodes and we can make like an hour long special? I guess we can make it 2 hours if they were going to insist on having so much of all of this family drama, which we didn't really need or even care about. But we could easily have taken 10 episodes. It would be, let's just say 30 minutes an episode. I tell you what, 25 minutes an episode, 250 minutes. And we cut it into at least half. And we get 2 hours out of it. Okay. Because we went through all of that to just get to the scene that we're all wanting where Godzilla comes through the portal. It was fantastic. This is what we all want. Look at that. It's fantastic. This is what we want. He starts fighting with the creature. Look at this. This is great. This is what we want. We've been waiting all season. Couldn't we have a 2-hour movie where we had some of this? I mean, even if you were to say, uh, you could have built Legacy up as being sort of like a precursor to the movies in a way where it's more like it's about Monarch. But this show has very little to do with Monarch and just about a whole bunch of people. Some of them are tied to Monarch, some of them not so much. A couple of kids that we don't really care that much about. So we do get a little battle scene here. I actually do like it. I think it was pretty good. I like how they handle it, of course. Of course, it sucks the little ball up inside the portal because so when the Titans go through the portal, it kind of opens the portal and sucks them back in. And that's pretty much what happens. But Kurt Russell can't get himself inside in time and has to let go. So they close it. And then they land and they're in our time and they're at Monarch. Okay. I cannot believe it takes so long to get such little. It just there's so much time wasted to get from point A to point B. It's really, this is literally, I've said it in multiple videos. I'd say it again. Apple is copying the Disney model here of just content for the sake of content. There was no reason to sit through 10 episodes. We easily could have cut this down. It could have been an hour and a half to 2 hours. And that is generous because it's still not going to have enough monster stuff in it, but we at least had something. Guess what? They were down there for a while. Time's not the same. Anybody want to guess? Yeah, it's been 2 years. 2 years. But she sees her dad. I'm sorry. Well, she sees her dad. She dad first, and then that's actually his mom. Actually, to be honest, this stuff actually worked. So, like I said, the flashback stuff, the very old flashback stuff with Randa and her and them initially figuring all that stuff with Monarch, that stuff kind of works. The fact that time's not the same and some of that kind of stuff, I could take it or leave it. There's enough stuff here to work to get a decent story out of. It just didn't need to be drug out so long. Anyway, so it works out fine. What have you guys been working on? Well, come to find out, they're on Skull Island and it's all about teasing Kong show up. That's all that's actually happening. That's actually where they are. They're there, and it's all about seeing Kong. So again, that's a decent payoff. That sets up the movie. I'm totally okay with that. But I'm disappointed that it took so long. This movie was a massive. This series was a massive letdown. It didn't really give me much to go on with Monarch because it could have easily been a much more interesting X Files kinds of thing. It could have been a lot more of sort of like the flashback stuff that would have helped us understand um, and the irony is here's what I would have done. I would have that they actually were on all of these points of evidence in the past, and because it was all suppressed and buried, no one knew it, and therefore, if they had known it, they would have been able to at least have an alert system and things like that would have saved lives when Godzilla attacked and other things like that. Instead, they seem like, well, random scientists are kind of still working on it, and oh, there's agencies over here doing none of that is it. All of that has been incompetent. So, show's a mess. Sorry. Hopefully, I watched this so you didn't have to. Didn't waste your time. It is about an hour and a half of content. If you've never seen any of this and you go see the new Godzilla Kong movie, whatever it's called today, it'll be fine. You wouldn't have needed to see it. There you go. I am Pops. Hopefully, you enjoyed watching this, and we'll go on to something else now. Love those recommendations and thoughts on this. Definitely, again, thanks to Justin who made a great correction on my last video. Where I didn't mean to shortchange it. I got to be honest. I just get so frustrated, and I get sort of like an emotional vomit mode with all this stuff, and some of those little details just kind of just scoot on right out of the old cranium, and I don't share them with you guys. So I do apologize for that part, but I don't apologize for my hatred of the show, my disappointment, if you will. So take care, everybody. Till next time, I am Pops.